Americans have a choice. It's not left or right, fascism or socialism, globalism or isolationism, or any of the labels thrown around lately. It's much simpler. It's start healing or keep dividing. It's finding common ground or inflaming disagreements. It's building up by coming together or burning down by tearing apart. It's decency or hate. And the decisions we make will determine whether we rise or fall. I've avoided politics on my show and in these online accounts. Not because I don't have strong opinions informed by deep experience in that world, but because I made a decision 15 years ago to walk away from that life because of what it had become. The events of the past week, on top of those of the past decade, make it no longer possible for me to remain apolitical. I love my country too much to remain silent, and despite the vitriol that fills social media and the media, I still believe in that shining city on a hill, and that the American people are far better than what we are seeing play out. There is no place for violence in politics or public discourse. I have lost too many I love fighting to stop that strain of evil on foreign soils for it to become normalized here. But today, we find ourselves at a crossroads. Right now, so many are glued to their screens. They're looking for answers. They're looking for comfort, looking to those who fill the news cycle or social media feeds to help them make sense of it all. They're hoping their leaders in Washington, the hosts of their favorite podcast, or the influencer they follow on social media will show them the path out of this madness. And that itself is a dangerous path. They don't have the answers. The answers are inside you. The answers are in your heart. Stop looking for them for guidance on how to react, how to get us to a better place. They are the ones who got us here. It's time for each of us to look inward at what role we have played and what role we can serve today to change the direction of things. It's time for the people to stand up and be better. Better than those who rose to power or fame by dividing us. Better than those whose first instinct is to point a finger, to tell everyone that someone else is to blame and which neighbor you should fear, hate, marginalize, or cancel today because of what they believe. If you're celebrating the death of someone you disagreed with, you are part of the problem. If you're calling someone your enemy because you disagree with their views, you're part of the problem. If you're trying to silence someone because of their views, yes, you are part of the problem. If you believe one side of the political aisle is innocent in the state of discourse in this country, one is more or less responsible, you're either in denial, living in an echo chamber, or just not being honest. And if you're one of the ones giving speeches, recording podcasts, or making posts saying the latest incidents of political violence are proof the left is worse than the right, or that the right is more hateful than the left, and calling for those you align with to seek revenge while ignoring the pattern of political violence on both sides that has escalated for 2 decades now, you are taking the easy path. The much tougher, more honest, and productive path. The hard path, but the path we need more people willing to walk, is to call for ownership all around. To take some time to reflect and own how you have played a role elevating tensions, and to look for ways to heal, not divide. In the days since Charlie Kirk's assassination, I have seen my social media filled with people saying he deserved it, or saying he'd done nothing to stoke hate or divisiveness. And I've seen a parade of politicians rushing to the nearest camera to blame their political opposition. Their explanations full of the phrases offered by a child who got in trouble, as these adults deny any responsibility, saying, yeah, but, and they started it, or we're not as bad as them. There is no way around 3 simple facts. Number 1, there is an increasing, out of control pattern of people gaining power in elected office and fame online or in the media by pitting neighbor against neighbor, telling people who to hate, blame, or fear. Number two, around them is an entire industry of talking heads, podcasters, and wannabe influencers spouting that same messaging to chase clout, to make money, and to find their way into the rings of that sphere of influence and power. And number three, most importantly, the American people. The vast majority of Americans do not subscribe to the extremist views, ugly rhetoric, or strategy of telling people to blame and hate this group or that group of people. Let me be very clear. There is absolutely nothing that in any way justifies the murder of Charlie Kirk. Nor is there anything that justified the assassination of Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman, her husband and dog, the attempted murder that night of Senator John Hoffman and his wife, the attempted assassination of President Trump, the torching of Governor Josh Shapiro's home while he and his family slept inside, the attempted murder of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the shooting spree by a New Mexico State House candidate against other legislators, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attempted kidnapping of Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the shooting of Congressman Steve Scalise, or the shooting of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. It's important to be real and honest. The vilifying of political or ideological opponents is being done by both the fringe left and the fringe right. We could play a long game of whataboutism, pointing to its origins from historic hate groups in the United States to how multiple candidates for office, including for president, have described their opponent and the opposition supporters or the hate group some candidates for office on both sides of the aisle have embraced. In fact, not since John McCain has a candidate so staunchly defended their own opponent against their supporters as a person while disagreeing with nearly everything his opponent stood for in policy. We once expected our leaders to heal divides, not create or fuel them. We rewarded those who were effective at reaching out to those who disagreed and convincing people of a different party or ideology to see things their way, or at least to work together, to compromise, to find solutions that serve the people. Today we find ourselves in a world where those who attack the most, blame the most, and divide the most are rewarded the most. Social media and niche streaming services have made it possible for people to be entirely immersed in an echo chamber. Those bubbles then become the petri dishes of the ugliest strains of evil, hate, and dehumanizing people who hold a different belief, practice a different religion, live their lives differently. Blame the algorithms all you want, but the hate is seized on and amplified by those using populism and hate to advance themselves, by their lackeys, by podcasters, commentators, influencers, and political operatives. I can also assure you, having run disinformation campaigns against our actual enemies, these cesspools of hate are amplified, stirred up, and many originally created by our enemies abroad. And sadly, they are winning in the battle to divide us. Today, I work doing two things: helping leaders find their own path forward in their career and in life, and helping people with very different views come together to find common ground, to make progress on some of society's most complex and contentious issues. What I have seen in thousands of hours facilitating conversations among these people is that they agree far more than they disagree, particularly on the outcomes they want and the world they want for their children. Despite all the efforts by some to blame the ones they call an enemy, when it comes down to it, Americans are better than that. The 80% of Americans in the middle have far more in common with one another than they do with the 10% of loons on the fringe left or the wackos on the fringe right. I know because in the past decade alone, I have spent thousands of hours in meetings with people who disagree. Sometimes they disagree on the margins of what to do first, and sometimes they fundamentally disagree on the problem itself, much less the solution. But in every single case where we've spent time in a room away from the cameras or microphones, we made progress. We found common ground. We did it by listening, by humanizing, by focusing more on what we share than where we differ. Did everyone always agree? No. Did we find more common ground than when we first sat down? Every single time. We need more of that. We need more fighting like hell to find where we can agree instead of digging in and focusing on, fighting over, and dehumanizing each other over where we disagree. We have to go in that direction because we have all now seen where this goes. Left unchecked, this doesn't get better. I have seen in other countries, and we are starting to see here in the land of the free where it ultimately leads to political and culturally approved killings of those who don't share the same ideas, religion, values, or loyalties. And along the path to that, neighbors stop helping neighbors out of fear and out of hate. People stop being decent. Children watch this and grow up to believe that there are no moral absolutes and certainly no golden rule. They learn that if one neighbor shares our views, we embrace them in every way, looking the other way at any wrong they may do. And they learn that if another neighbor believes something different, they are the enemy who should be torn down. And in dealing with them, there are no rules of morality or decency that apply. To those in public office or with a public platform, I'm pleading with you. Use your position to ratchet down the rhetoric. I know you can get more followers, more listeners, or more votes by playing it up, by telling your followers it's time to rise up, or no backing down, that we have them on the run, or they are out to get you and we're at war. So time to strap up, or time to burn things down. And I want to be 100% clear. I'm talking to the left and the right here. Stop. Be better than that. Find ways to turn the volume down. Find ways to bring people together, to listen to those you disagree with, to try to understand, to dare to empathize, and even if you don't agree with their views, to acknowledge their right to their own views, so long as those don't infringe on your right to live your own views and your way of living. Yes, there are some irrational extremists out there on all sides of the ideological spectrum. And I'm not saying you need to embrace or even accept the fringe who instill hate or want to force their ways on you. But 90% of the people you think are the enemy, they're just people who see things differently. And retreating further into partisan or ideological camps serves no purpose other than to divide and march us down that path I mentioned of a complete breakdown of civility, decency, and the social contracts that holds together this great experiment in democracy. So where do we go? I don't have all the answers, other than we don't go where we're currently headed. And there is a role for every one of us in that course correction. To every politician, podcaster, influencer, and anybody listening or watching, I want to extend a simple challenge. I'm calling it the 30 Days of Decency Challenge. See if you can go 30 days without any of your speeches, social media posts, podcasts, or newsletters containing attacks on those with whom you disagree. Throwing around phrases like at war with or we have to stop them, and all of the quips about what they are trying to do when talking about the other side. And instead, for 30 days, use each of those opportunities to identify where those you view as on your side can do better in the public discourse or engaging with others. Tell people the strengths of your idea without attacking an opposing view or the people who hold that idea. Talk about instances where you wish you would have handled something differently instead of inflaming things. Point out where you think those you label as opponents have done good or offered ideas that you think hold promise and highlight where left and right, those of all ideologies, have made progress by working together. And beyond those 30 days, try to make this part of how you approach life and engaging with people. Talk about the problem you are trying to solve, the end state you want to create, and then be open to hearing different ideas about the problem, the end state you hope for, and the path between them. To those who mock or dismiss this appeal for civility, and my belief that we must do better, To those who will double down on blaming the other side, justifying political violence or hate, saying they and their side bear no responsibility, and who will go forward spreading hate, looking to pit neighbor against neighbor, I say this. You may be loud. You may find applause, votes, views, or likes, but you are in the minority. You are wrong and you will lose. You have the opportunity to be part of the healing and building something even stronger than our best days. But if you choose to only sow hate, to deny any responsibility, and to offer only blame, generations from now, your words will be at most an historical citation, a footnoted example of the hate that rose up and failed in the face of a much bigger wave of decency and love. To those with whom this call for civility connects, but who aren't sure what you can do, or who fear befriending a conservative amid your progressive friends, or a liberal outside of your conservative circle, I ask you only to start with a small step. When you find yourself engaging with someone who has a different view, work intentionally to listen, to understand, to see people as people and not as an enemy or opponent. Take a break from saying where you disagree and look for where you do agree, on the intent, if not always on the solution or path there. If you find yourself in a bubble of like thinkers, look for opportunities to connect with others who have different life experiences, different views, and different ideas. I remember not too long ago, a company I was doing work with who had almost 500 employees, and their entire organization nearly came to a standstill because of an election. Their executives told people they were welcome to take time off if they needed it because of the outcome of that election. And one senior leader posted on their internal message board, "I don't understand it. I don't know a single person who voted for them." My concern wasn't that I thought that person was lying. My concern and heartbreak was that I believed them. There are pockets of people across the country looking to help our nation heal and get on a better path. One that I'm a particular fan of is the Coffee and Courage Challenge, promoted by More Perfect Union, to encourage Americans to bridge political divides through meaningful civil conversations over coffee. MPU was founded by a true leader and public servant, Jake Harriman, who served as a platoon commander with the Infantry and Force Recon in the United States Marine Corps. Seeing the effects of poverty on global security and humanity, Jake first founded Nuru International to help end extreme poverty through self-sustaining agribusinesses. Then he went on to launch More Perfect Union. Their Coffee and Courage Challenge invites people to find a partner who holds different views, to meet for coffee, and discuss what the American dream and promise mean to each of them. Participants are asked to record a video about the conversation and the common ground they found. You can read more about this over at mpu.us. Whether you take on MPU's challenge, take on my 30 Days of Decency challenge for how you engage with people, do both, or just take a hard look at how you interact with people. My truest hope is that every one of us takes one step, takes one action every month, designed to advance understanding, to bring people together, and to bring us back on that path to being that shining city on a hill. We're not going to get there by waiting for a hero to rescue us, looking for a politician who will solve it all, or a celebrity or social media influencer who will heal us. We will get there when each of us, when we the people, take a stand for decency, treat our neighbors as we would want to be treated, look for the good, and model a way to be better. I know all of this can be pretty heavy. Don't let it consume you or those you love. I do believe we all have an obligation to contribute to the solution and the healing, but that can't be at the cost of your own well-being. I always find my peace on the ocean, in the sky, or up in the mountains. So I'll leave you with the words of Austin Perelmutter, who said, "If you want evidence the world is a terrible place, watch the news, surf the web. If you want to remember how incredible this planet is, go out into nature. Unlike social media and the news, nature has no incentive to keep us agitated, angry, and anxious."